Howdy, partners. Ever wonder what happened to all the cowboys? One day they were everywhere, riding horses, wrangling cattle. The next, poof, gone like a tumbleweed in a windstorm. Where'd they go? Did they ride off into the sunset for good? Stick around, buckaroos, and we'll unravel this mystery together, back to the days of the Wild West, when cowboys were the toughest hombres around. Imagine a dusty town, the sun's beaten down, and you can almost hear the piano playing from the saloon. This was the world of the cowboy, a world of grit, adventure, and a whole lot of dust. Cowboys were the backbone of the West. They faced danger head-on, whether it was a stampede of cattle or a band of outlaws. So why did they disappear? And more importantly, did their spirit truly vanish? Let's find out. The life of a cowboy wasn't all shootouts and saloon brawls. It was hard work from sunup to sundown. They were up before the rooster, saddling up their trusty steeds. Long hours in the saddle, herding cattle across miles of rugged terrain. Rain or shine, they'd be out there. Think scorching desert heat one day and freezing blizzards the next. Through it all, they kept those cattle moving, protecting them from predators and rustlers. These weren't city slickers, mind you. They lived under the open sky, sleeping under a blanket of stars. Their bed, the hard ground, their roof, a million miles of sky. Tough as nails, these cowboys were. But it wasn't all hardship. There was a real camaraderie amongst them, a bond as strong as the rope in their hands. A cowboy's saddle wasn't just a seat. It was his office, his workbench, and sometimes even his bed. It was made to last, crafted from the toughest leather. And those saddlebags? They held everything he needed for days, sometimes weeks on the trail. Then there was the trusty lasso. Picture a cowboy spinning that rope above his head, then letting it fly with pinpoint accuracy. Roping cattle was an art, and these cowboys were masters. And let's not forget the cowboy hat, shielding them from the relentless sun, wind, and rain. Every tool a cowboy carried had a purpose. Now you can't talk about cowboys without talking about cowboy grub. Forget fancy restaurants, these fellas ate what they could cook over an open fire. Beans were a staple. Hearty, filling, and easy to cook, they kept a cowboy going all day long. And nothing beat a cup of strong black coffee brewed over the campfire to start the day. It wasn't fancy food, but it was food that stuck to your ribs. Texas, the heart of cattle country, birthed more than its share of cowboy legends. This vast land with its rolling plains and rugged terrain has been the backdrop for countless tales of bravery and adventure. From the early days of the Wild West to the modern era, Texas has always been a place where legends are born and stories are told. Stories passed down through generations, whispered around campfires under a canopy of stars. These tales, often embellished with each retelling, capture the essence of the cowboy spirit. They speak of long nights under the open sky, the camaraderie of the campfire, and the enduring bond between man and nature, stories of grit, determination, and sometimes, a touch of the supernatural. These narratives are not just about the physical challenges faced by cowboys, but also about their inner strength and resilience. They tell of men who faced insurmountable odds and emerged victorious, their spirits unbroken. One such tale tells of Pecos Bill, a larger-than-life cowboy raised by coyotes. His story is one of the most famous in Texas folklore, a testament to the wild imagination and creativity of those who spun these yarns. Pecos Bill's adventures are legendary, filled with feats that defy belief. Legend has it he could ride a cyclone like a bucking bronco, dig the Rio Grande with his bare hands, and lasso a shooting star with his trusty rope. These incredible feats made Pecos Bill a symbol of the untamed spirit of Texas, a figure larger than life who embodied the wild and adventurous nature of the cowboy. Now, folks may argue about what's true and what's tall tales, but one thing's for sure. Pecos Bill embodies the spirit of the Texas cowboy, wild, untamed, and always up for a challenge. His story, like many others, serves as a reminder of the rich cultural heritage of Texas and the enduring legacy of its cowboy legends. Then there's the story of Stagecoach Mary, a woman who defied every convention of the Wild West. Her tale is one of courage and determination, a testament to the strength and resilience of women in a time when they were often underestimated. Mary Fields, as she was known, was a fearless mail carrier braving bandits, blizzards, and wild animals to deliver the mail. Her dedication and bravery earned her a place in the annals of Texas history, a true pioneer who paved the way for future generations. Standing over 6 feet tall and known to enjoy a good cigar and a shot of whiskey, she earned the respect of even the toughest cowboys. Her larger-than-life persona and fearless attitude made her a legend in her own right, a woman who stood tall in a man's world. Mary Fields proved that courage and grit knew no gender. Her story, like those of many other Texas legends, is a testament to the enduring spirit of the Lone Star State. These tales, whether of men or women, remind us of the rich tapestry of history and the indomitable spirit that defines Texas. Moving cattle from the dusty plains of Texas to the railheads of Kansas was no easy feat. The journey was long and arduous, often taking several months to complete. Cowboys had to be vigilant at all times, ensuring the cattle stayed together and moved in the right direction. The trail was fraught with challenges, from harsh weather conditions to treacherous terrain, but for many, it was a way of life, a testament to their resilience and determination. The Chisholm Trail, a rugged path carved by thousands of hooves, became a symbol of the cowboy way of life. It stretched over 800 miles from southern Texas to the railheads in Kansas and was one of the most famous cattle trails of the 19th century. The trail was named after Jesse Chisholm, a trader of Scottish and Cherokee descent, who originally used the route for his trading expeditions. It was a journey fraught with danger, from stampedes and river crossings to lightning storms and cattle rustlers. Cowboys had to be prepared for anything, often working long hours with little rest. The threat of a stampede was ever present, and crossing rivers could be particularly perilous. Lightning storms added another layer of danger, with the risk of cattle scattering and cowboys getting injured or worse. One story tells of a young cowboy named Nat Love, also known as Deadwood Dick, who earned his nickname after a particularly daring ride. Nat Love was born into slavery but became one of the most famous black cowboys of the Old West. His skills as a rider and marksman were legendary, and his adventures were the stuff of legend. During a cattle drive, a fierce storm scattered the herd, and a bolt of lightning struck near Nat, knocking him unconscious. The storm was so intense that it took hours for the cowboys to regroup and find all the cattle. When they finally found Nat, they feared the worst. His fellow cowboys, believing him dead, were amazed to find him alive the next morning, singed but unharmed. Nat's survival was seen as nothing short of a miracle, and it only added to his legendary status. His resilience and bravery became an inspiration to many. Nat Love went on to become a legendary cowboy, his name synonymous with courage and resilience. He documented his life in an autobiography, sharing his incredible experiences and adventures with the world. His story is a testament to the diverse and rich history of the American West. Another tale speaks of a ghostly herd of cattle, said to roam the Chisholm Trail to this day. These spectral cattle are believed to be the spirits of those lost on the trail, forever wandering the plains. The legend adds a mystical element to the already rich tapestry of stories from the Chisholm Trail. These stories remind us that the life of a cowboy was one of constant adventure. Each day brought new challenges and opportunities, and the camaraderie among cowboys was unmatched. Around the campfire, they would share tales of bravery, hardship, and the occasional ghost story, keeping the spirit of the Old West alive. The stories of the cowboys, whether rooted in fact or embellished by time, offer a glimpse into a bygone era. They speak of a time when life was tough, the land unforgiving, and courage was a necessity, not a choice. These weren't just men on horseback. They were pioneers, adventurers, and symbols of a rugged individualism that continues to capture the imagination. Their legacy lives on in the stories we tell, the movies we watch, and the values we admire. Remember those wide-open spaces where cowboys roamed free, the endless horizons, the sense of boundless freedom and the spirit of adventure that defined the American West? Well, things started to change. The landscape began to transform, slowly but surely, as new settlers moved in and towns began to sprout up. Like a slow-moving cattle drive, progress came to the west. It wasn't immediate, but it was inevitable. The open range started to close in, and with progress came fences. Yep, barbed wire fences. Not so romantic, huh? These fences started to carve up the land, piece by piece. See, ranchers discovered that fences could keep their cattle from wandering off. It made managing livestock easier, but it also meant the end of the open range. No more need for long cattle drives. The traditional cowboy way of life was starting to fade. Those fences were like lines drawn in the dirt, changing the face of the West forever. They marked boundaries and ownership, altering the landscape in ways that were hard to reverse. Land that was once free and open was now divided up, claim by claim. Each fence represented a new boundary, a new limit to the freedom that once was. Imagine you're a cowboy, used to the freedom of the open range. The horizon was your only limit, and the land stretched out endlessly before you. Suddenly your world feels smaller, more confined. The fences not only restricted the land but also the spirit of the cowboy. The fences weren't just changing the landscape, they were changing the very way of life for cowboys. The open range was becoming a thing of the past. It was the beginning of the end for the cowboy as folks knew him. The iconic image of the lone cowboy riding across the open plains was fading into history. But it wasn't just fences. Other forces were at play, reshaping the West in profound ways. The railroads played a big part in this changing tide too. They brought new people, new goods, and new ways of life, further transforming the West. The railroads were like veins spreading across the West, connecting towns and cities. And with them came new settlers, new industries, and new ways of doing things. Cattle, once herded across miles and miles of dusty trails, could now be transported quickly and efficiently by train. Think about it. Why hire a whole crew of cowboys for a long, dangerous cattle drive when you could load those steers onto a train and get them to market in a fraction of the time? The railroads, while bringing progress, also brought about a decline in the demand for traditional cowboys. But it wasn't just the economics of it all. The railroads also brought about an end to the isolation of the West. Towns boomed, populations grew, and the Wild West started to become, well, less wild. The frontier spirit that cowboys embodied was slowly fading away. The West kept changing. The open ranges gave way to farms and ranches. Towns grew into cities. And those cowboys, well, some adapted, becoming ranch hands on those newly fenced-in properties. They traded in their long cattle drives for the daily routines of ranch work. Others moved on, seeking their fortune in other parts of the growing country. The spirit of adventure that had driven them across the plains didn't just disappear. It found new outlets, new frontiers to conquer. But even though the way of life changed, the legend of the cowboy lived on. They were passed down, told and retold, eventually finding their way into books, movies, and songs. The cowboy became a timeless icon of American culture. Now, just because you don't see cowboys herding cattle across the open range anymore, don't think for a second that their spirit has vanished. Nope, that cowboy spirit, it's alive and kicking, even in the heart of the biggest cities. Think about what cowboys stood for. Courage, grit, independence, looking out for your neighbor. These qualities never go out of style. They're in the firefighter charging into a burning building. They're in the single mom working 2 jobs to make ends meet. They're in the kid standing up to a bully on the playground. The cowboy hat might be optional these days, but that spirit, it's universal. It's about facing your fears, working hard, and never giving up. Want proof that cowboys still capture our imaginations? Look no further than the big screen. Since the earliest days of Hollywood, cowboys have been the stars of countless movies. From rootin' tootin' shootouts to sweeping romances, westerns have entertained folks for generations. But it's not just movies. Cowboy hats, boots, and that whole look, it's iconic. People all over the world, from Japan to Argentina, rock the cowboy style. Country music, with its roots in cowboy ballads, is still hugely popular. And rodeos, they draw in huge crowds, eager to witness the skills and daring of modern-day cowboys and cowgirls. So, where did all the cowboys go? They rode into the sunset, that's for sure. But they didn't disappear entirely. They left behind a legacy of hard work, determination, and a love for the wide-open spaces. Remember, partner, the next time you see a cowboy hat, hear a country song, or watch a western movie, you're witnessing the enduring spirit of the cowboy. It's a spirit that lives on, not just in history books, but in the hearts of folks all over the world. Cowboys, they weren't just characters in a history book, partners. They were the real deal, folks who faced the unknown head-on and tamed a wild land. They might not roam free like they used to, those days are gone like smoke from a cook fire, but the spirit of the cowboy, that never fades. Look around you. You see that grit in the folks working hard every day to make a living, to chase their dreams. You see that independence in the folks who ain't afraid to be different, to blaze their own trail, and you see that courage in the folks who stand up for what they believe in, even when it's tough. Think about it. When you picture a hero, what do you see? Chances are there's a little bit of cowboy in that image, the strong, silent type, riding in to save the day. The underdog who never gives up, no matter the odds. That's the enduring legacy of the cowboy. They weren't perfect, mind you, no one is. But their stories, their struggles, their triumphs, they remind us that life is a journey best lived with courage, integrity, and a whole lot of heart. Their legacy is more than just boots and saddles, it's about the values they lived by. Well, buckaroos, we've reached the end of the trail for today, but the adventure ain't over. If you enjoyed this here roundup of cowboy history, don't forget to give this video a big old thumbs up. It really helps us out. And while you're at it, why not subscribe to our channel, Cowboy Chronicles? We'll take you on more wild rides through history, exploring all sorts of fascinating folks and forgotten tales. Until next time, keep your boots shined, your spirits high, and always remember the spirit of the cowboy lives on in all of us.